Giant breaking news that the governor of Nuevo Leon in Mexico is now saying that in addition to building the next generation compact car, Tesla will also use Giga Mexico to build the Cybertruck, maybe the Model Y, and its 4680 batteries. And even more shocking, the governor is saying that Tesla told them the size of the factory will double or triple from its originally planned size. Let's review this in more detail, but given this is coming directly from the governor, it's a bit more credibility to this than usual. We've got Brian White joining us. He has his own YouTube channel called MyTeslaWeekend. He is the expert in factories, and he's been following Giga Texas like a hawk, Giga Shanghai, and now Giga Mexico, and love to get your feedback on this. Brian?
This is such a big topic, and yeah, it's exciting to see the news finally developing.
It's, we have to question whether it's credible. It's coming from the governor. But, just a few months ago, just very recently, Elon said that they're going to slow down their investments. And here we see the opposite of that. So let's, although I do think it makes sense. That's the interesting thing. I do think it makes sense. So here's the news from Eva Fox. Tesla to make next-gen car, Cybertruck, Model Y, and 46 batteries at Giga Mexico. So they continue to work on plans to develop its factory. Now, and you've reported also that the permits were finally approved just a few days ago. So it's really up to Tesla to decide if they want to start building there. But according to the Mexico government, that it's ready to go. Yeah. So yeah. The first bit here is that they're just saying that the governor was saying that, several years ago they had a precedent. They had another company that they're working for. They gave away a lot of land and money. They're not doing that with Tesla. Tesla's very, very transparent, and they're having many meetings. And that sort of sets a stage that saying, hey, after we've had so many meetings with Tesla, this is how he heard how the plan for the factory became more and more voluminous. The company intends to increase the size of Giga Mexico compared to its original plan. So according to the governor, the company initially planned to produce the next generation car to factory. Right? We all agreed with that. That's what we knew. He also confirmed that Cybertruck production is planned for the location. In addition to Model Y line, the 4680 battery packs are expected there. This suggests that the size of Giga Mexico will be 2 or 3 times originally planned. What do you think, Brian? Does this pass the smell test?
So the first aspect, let's tackle the easy one, batteries. Will they make batteries there? Yes, of course. We know their plan is to make batteries at every location because having them in the place where they're needed is helpful. And there's no reason you can't make batteries there. They need that. That's not going to increase the footprint dramatically, maybe 1 million square feet, but which sounds like a lot, and it is, but compared to a gigafactory, it really isn't. So will they make batteries there? I would be very surprised if they didn't. They just need to get the 4680s tooled and running properly at other locations, and then they will duplicate it there. The next one is the compact. Of course, they're making the compact there. We know that in part because that's where it was originally announced for. And then we saw the confirmation from Elon less than a week ago that Texas will be first. The compact will be then made in Mexico and presumably from there out rolled out everywhere. Then we've got the question of will they make the Cybertruck? Now, the governor, his job is to build himself up, build up his accomplishments. That's how you get reelected. That's how you keep your constituents happy. He's saying they'll make Cybertruck there. And when I first heard that, I said, no, they won't. Why would they? Why would you make Cybertruck in 2 locations that close together? But we also know that the compact is going to be made in 2 locations that close together. So why wouldn't they becomes the question. The hesitation on Tesla's part was, we haven't released the truck yet. We don't know what the actual demand is. Maybe everybody cancels. It's possible. And now we're seeing, Tesla gets to see the daily order numbers, the execution on reservations. And I believe that they are of the opinion that Texas will not be able to make enough Cybertrucks on their own to handle it. So let's make the Cybertrucks also in Mexico, get that done, and there you go. So it is entirely possible that they will be making Cybertrucks as well. The market for the Cybertruck, Ford does 1 million F-150s. Not now, they used to. Cybertruck, I don't know if Giga Texas alone could make 1 million. I believe they could make 500,000, and I think they may need to expand to a second location to get to 1 million. And I think this will be a truck that could sell in other markets. Not necessarily according to the law. If the law is legal factors overcome, the question of demand. There are a lot of people around the world with Cybertruck reservations who would never buy an F-150, a Silverado, or a Ram. So I think it just barely passes the smell test.
Very cool. That's you answered a bunch of questions I was asking. The Cybertruck, does it have enough volume to require two different plants?
Does the Model Y have enough volume to demand 4 factories around the world? If you asked me 3 years ago, I would have said, no, of course not. 2 at most. 3, 4? Yeah, there is enough demand, apparently.
No, but the Model Y is the SUV, number one desired vehicle, but Cybertruck is a truck. I think most people don't even believe that Tesla will sell 1 million of these per year, but you felt like, even 1 million a year is something you might want to do 2 lines for.
Yes, 2 locations for. Yes.
Okay.
Because remember, the F-150 with 1 million has like 6 or 7 different assembly plants for it. They've got a lot of assembly plants around North America.
Okay. So there's so much here we have to talk about. So first of all, before we get even further deeper into this, I've got a question about why Cybertruck, yet another new kind of production line in a new factory, if it is so different from the compact car. You see what I'm saying? But before we get into that, this is the governor, and he's making these statements, right? That part we know is true. You wouldn't risk it if it was not true, right? He would not have risked saying things like this if this is not either approved by Tesla or even near close to being truth. So I have to give this credibility.
Yeah.
No?
I disagree on that basis because I am of the opinion that a politician will say anything on any given day to any group if they think it's the right thing. The other big question you raised early on was, could they really be doubling or tripling the scope of the site? And I think the governor has better insight to what the original scope of the site was. We didn't actually hear. What we heard was that the land is very big. And we took that to mean that the factory itself would also be very big. If all they were planning to make was the compact, and maybe not even with their own batteries, but with imported LFP batteries or ones made at another location, it's possible that this factory with this better design, simpler design, perhaps no paint, could have been done in a 2 million square foot location, 3 million square foot location, compared to, say, Fremont, which is about 5.5 million. Half the size of Fremont. They could have done that, I think, absolutely. But now if they're going to also be building 500,000 Cybertrucks and putting batteries in there, all of a sudden that would make sense that they would have had to double or triple the footprint of the actual building.
Okay, but I'm confused because if they're going to do the Model 3 compact car there, don't they need LFP batteries? Where is that going to come from at scale?
Oh, I assume that there's a battery factory being built in the Monterey area as we speak by someone like CATL or BYD. This is big. This is happening.
That makes sense also. CATL.
Everyone is trying to go everywhere. Now, we know that I saw a report this week that BYD and 2 other Chinese manufacturers are looking to build factories in Mexico. And this is something I've been saying is going to happen for a while now because it just makes sense. You need a factory in North America in which to build your cars. And building cars in America is very expensive. But these companies already have relationships in Mexico. And because of Mexico's abundant free trade agreements, anything built in Mexico can be exported to 50 different countries without tariffs. It makes a lot of sense to build there. And if they've already got operations there doing something else, like batteries, if they've already got partnerships there with other companies, it just makes sense. So and those vehicles would all qualify for under the IRA, especially if the batteries are also made in Mexico.
Okay, so you are speaking. This is great. So you said it first in this channel. Thank you for that. We'll be watching for an announcement of a CATL battery plant in which is very, just like they did in Shanghai, Giga Shanghai, they're like within spitting distance of each other. We'll see one in Giga Mexico. But I still believe that Tesla themselves needs to create these factories. This Gen 3 car is going to be so mass produced scale, they can't rely on third parties. They need to have control of their own rate limiting issue with the batteries. So that's going to happen. Now, let's talk Cybertruck, okay? So every time I ask the question, is the Gen 3 compact car going to be built on the same platform? I just did a poll yesterday with 8, rock stars in the Tesla community, and 7 out of 8 said no, it's not going to be built on the same platform as the Cybertruck. Dr. John Gibbs, myself, he did a show on this where he believes that there's a lot. It's not going to be 100%, of course, but it's a lot of what they built for Cybertruck is going to be ported over to the Model 3. The Model 3 is going to, not the Model 3, I'm sorry, the Gen 2, the compact car, it's going to be very utilitarian. It's going to be much easier to build, but you're not going to create a Cybertruck platform and use it just for the truck and the van. You're going to use it for ongoing, all new vehicles, the new style, the new, build, everything, unboxed model. Why would they? So if they built the Cybertruck platform in Texas, why would they then do the Cybertruck platform again in Mexico? If you're, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to have a Cybertruck platform, you're going to have a Y platform, you're going to have the compact car platform, 3 different platforms in one, factory.
Well, I think it will just be compact and Cybertruck. I don't think there'll be a third one there. I don't see a need for a third one there. Model 3, I don't think volume is big enough to justify rolling out a whole new line somewhere.
Model Y, it says. Yeah. They say possibly another production line for the Model Y.
Nah, I don't see a need for that. We've got underutilization in Berlin and Austin. So until those are fully used up, I don't see a benefit to that. I don't see why they would want to or need to do that. They already have other countries that are able to export within those same trade agreements. So it would be, I don't see the Model Y coming to the Mexico factory. I agree that 3 platforms in one factory would be too many. In terms of Cybertruck, the reason they won't use that for the compact is because it's too large. The castings are ginormous. Once you scale back the castings, now the battery is still too big. So I think the compact needs to be on a different platform. And but the big thing is each car has been a step along the path to the compact. So with the introduction of the big castings, that moved us the first step towards unboxed. With the introduction of a structural battery pack with things already mounted to it, like the seats, that's the next step. And you just keep going one step at a time. Now we've got steer-by-wire. That gets us closer. We've got a load-bearing external structure. That moves us a little closer. The next one could be it. It could be the final piece of the puzzle. With the steer-by-wire, and the brake-by-wire, and the 48-volt, and all the pieces coming together like that. The only question is, will the shell have enough structural strength, or will they still be stamping an inner? And we don't know yet, but I believe Tesla knows the answer, and I guarantee you they're not going to tell us anytime soon. So that, I think, this could be the Lego toy finally, that we can just put it all together in one or more pieces like that and make it go real quick. So I don't think that Cybertruck being its own thing is a bad thing. It was a necessary step along the path.
All right. So now I've asked 9 people, and 8 out of 9 believe that that's still the case. Okay, so just to complete the story about what they're talking to the governor was that the governor is saying there are 3 or 4 factories in one. At every meeting we have with Tesla, we have to change the size of the water treatment plant that the factory will need, the size of the ramps, the entrances and the walkways and the connections. And then he did say, though, that we know that he told Tesla that can't give them incentives. But Tesla said, yeah, we don't need incentives. We don't need to be able to get that. We just want you to build and create infrastructure. And so this is, Tesla told us, very good. We bought the idea of buying from Santa Catarina. Just help us with infrastructure. We don't want gifts like the previous company did. We're not giving them a piece of land, said the governor. We are not giving them a single peso. What they are asking for will have an impact more or less at the region.
Yes. So that's beautiful. We've seen some really sketchy deals, like when Foxconn went to, what was it, Ohio, Michigan, where they were given the keys to the city for nothing. No strings attached. We trust you. And that's a bad way to do it. Obviously, that doesn't work. There was an article this week, $153 million given to Tesla by the local. And no, that's not what they were given. What they were given was, we're going to spend 153 million on building out the water, sewer, garbage, electric, and
this is
internet,
Mexico.
and on ramps and off ramps. This area, we've seen it from the air, is remote. It doesn't have anything there. All that utility needs to be brought out because they wish for this to become an industrial park. And it's not just Tesla who's going to be there. All the land around it is going to be filled with new buildings, with perhaps battery factories or windshield factories or taillight factories. All that's going to be out there. And you can't have that without wider highways, without on-ramps and off-ramps and overpasses, without the telephone lines and the internet and the electric and sewer. And the other thing they got was a temporary reduction in payroll taxes, because the local authority believes it's better to push them to get more jobs quickly, because those jobs are going to stay. We will be getting some payroll tax, even though it's not the full amount. It's more than we had last year. More than zero is a good amount, and it'll be going to full at some point soon. And 153 million compared to a $4-5 billion factory, bringing $10 billion in spending power, if you count the second and third hand effects, is definitely worth it. It's a very cheap investment.
It's going to be huge for Mexico. Anyways, a good sign is in the last week or two, there's now visuals of work that's happening. The ground is being set up. The infrastructure is being set up. This is very interesting because just a couple months ago, we heard Elon say, we're not going to go full speed ahead on Mexico. Everybody assumed that this was going to be, stable. He's waiting for the macro to turn. Now, the macro there's a lot of, signs that it's turning, but we haven't heard him say for sure. But the actions and signs we're seeing in Mexico, and not only is it that they're starting to build it, it's like it's bigger. It's like 3 times bigger than originally planned. They're going to add more lines. This is fantastic news for Tesla. It's interesting. And it's just, I think it's fantastic. So
the compact car is proof that Tesla still intends to reach 20 million around 2030. If you've got a factory like this that can turn out 1, 2, 3 million cars, it doesn't take very many of those to hit 20 million. And you've got plans to put a small one in Texas, a big one in Mexico, a big one in Berlin, and probably a big one in Shanghai. Right there, I mean, we're talking 10 million units of production potentially.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm so happy that you were here to talk about this story. It just dropped yesterday, and you're one of the few people that could actually give this background. I hope, folks, you guys appreciated that. Follow him and check him out on his YouTube channel, MyTeslaWeekend. Thanks, Brian. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.